Boxing truth here. I had to talk a little bit about Keith one-time Thurman, as he's been doing around in interviews to the boxing media, as his fight is upcoming on June 25th, and probably it's the most. I'm probably looking forward to that fight the most out of the schedule of all the fights that are scheduled in the month of June. It's a long anticipated, awaited bout. It's been a big build-up, a lot of bullshit in between, the injury, the hairbag. So finally, most likely, we're going to see this fight after such a long-ass wait, negotiation period, and an injury that postponed the bout even further. But Keith is saying a lot of interesting things to the media. He's been doing a round of interviews with a couple of media outlets talking about what really went down in sparring against Shawn Porter in their training camp 3 years ago. Also went into it with Danny Garcia, who potentially that could be the fight where both guys can get the recognition and the respect that they yearn for from the boxing world if they end up facing each other in a unification bout, perhaps potentially later this year or maybe early next year. But Keith just wanted to clear the rumors of what really went down in the sparring session or the sparring he had with Shawn Porter 3 years ago, as there's been a lot of back and forth. Kenny Porter saying that, he lived up to his nickname, that he wasn't one time in that session, in that sparring session. He was more of a runtime, running around the ring, not willing to engage. But Keith argues that he outboxed Porter, that he had better days, he had more moments, and that in fact, that during that camp, when they had a lot of sparring together, him and Thurman and Porter, there was plenty of days. It was Shawn Porter that was actually Keith Thurman's sparring partner. That there was plenty of days where Thurman would spar 5 rounds and then Shawn Porter would come in. And so while Thurman's already 5 rounds into a sparring session, Shawn Porter will come in nice and fresh. So it will be round 6 for Thurman, and it will be round 1 for Porter. So of course you really can't take too much into account when it's that type of sparring, when you go in there with a guy that's already had a few rounds in and a guy that's coming in fresh. Sometimes the fresh guy will get the better of the more worn out guy, or maybe it's vice versa. It could be the other way around. But Thurman just wants to, let it be known that there was plenty of days where it was Shawn Porter coming in fresh against a more worn out Keith Thurman, and that they really can't go by that type of scenario where one guy's fresher and the other guy has already sparred for 5 rounds. But I've been watching Keith training a little bit. There's not too much footage. Some stuff of him on the heavy bag, him shadow boxing, but he's looking sharp. He's looking strong. He's looking pretty fast. I pretty much can see how he's gonna try to fight Porter. He's gonna be on his toes. He's gonna use his footwork. He's gonna use his superior athleticism, and he's gonna try to outbox Porter and also walk into some big shots as Porter's gonna try to come in, and because he's the shorter guy, he's the guy that's gonna have to bring the fight to Thurman and try to get inside. Now we're gonna see if Shawn Porter has improved in that area. Because he's had trouble plenty of times in the past, as I watched him come up against guys that are lanky or stay on the outside and try to box him. Shawn's going to have to show improvement. We're going to see if he's shown improvement in that area, if whether he can cut the distance and get inside, which has been a big problem in throughout much of his career. It also resulted in his first loss. He couldn't close the distance against Kell Brook. He had trouble getting inside. He couldn't get through that straight 1-2. Kell Brook constantly kept throwing at him and also kept disrupting his rhythm and making him reset, which is what won Kell Brook the fight. So we're going to see if Thurman can surpass the performance of Kell Brook, as Thurman wants to make a statement in this fight. He wants to get a knockout win, an emphatic win that he doesn't care if people regard him number one or not, that he leaves it up to the media and the boxing world, that he's pretty much getting paid, so he doesn't really give too much thought, or he ain't sweating it too much, that he's not considered number one in the world in the welterweight division. However, the winner of this fight, in my opinion, is not the number one welterweight in the world, especially now that Kell Brook is possibly going to be in unification bout, most likely September 3rd against Jesse Vargas, and if he wins that, there's no doubt he's number one. But if Keith Thurman can put in an impressive display of boxing, punching, and also getting a knockout win, perhaps it could get him closer to the pound-for-pound list. It can get him rated as number 2 in the welterweight division, as you know, Ring Magazine currently has Amir Khan as number 2. As Keith Thurman also stated to the media that Amir Khan is the most overrated fighter in boxing today. But looking forward to the fight. Keith looks in better spirits. He looks healthier. He seems ready to go, and he's definitely looking to unify. Well, he's gonna have to try to get a unification bout if he gets past Shawn Porter, and obviously the natural fight will be against Danny Garcia, unification, which he says that he took some shots at Garcia, at Danny, saying that he hasn't beaten any real welterweights, that he's fought naturally smaller guys and beaten like Paul Malignaggi and Robert Guerrero, and that it will be a money fight for him, a Garcia unification, but he doesn't see Garcia as one of the bigger threats in the division, that he doesn't see Garcia having the same type of performances and the same type of run he did at 47 as he did at 140. But the angle here is that Keith Thurman, if he gets past Shawn Porter, he has a WBA strap. So the WBA president Gilberto Mendoza, is trying to get rid of all of the bogus belts, like the interim belts and the regular belts, by having these guys fight each other to determine who's the number one, the one WBA champion. So very recently, a fight between Shane Mosley and David, I can't pronounce his last name, the welterweight Russian kid who defeated Shane Mosley. Now, had Shane Mosley won that bout, he would have been pushing for the winner of Thurman Porter, but he would have preferred Keith Thurman. Probably wouldn't have taken a fight with Shawn Porter if Shawn Porter wins the fight. But it would have been interesting had Shane Mosley won that fight and the WBA president enforcing that bout. Would Keith Thurman or Shawn Porter have fought Shane Mosley? And the only way to offset that bout is by unifying against somebody to hold off that mandatory mandated bout in order to determine the one WBA champion in the welterweight division. But obviously, Thurman's going to look for bigger fish to fry. If he gets past Shawn Porter, I don't think anyone's interested in him watching him fight that guy to beat that beat Shane Mosley. No one's interested in that fight. Al Heyman's going to have to try to maneuver Keith Thurman or Porter out of that fight. Perhaps set up a unification with Danny Garcia later in the year in order to hold off that bout, because it's an undesirable bout for both guys, a bout neither guy really needs at this stage of his careers. It's time for more lucrative fights and more better fights that the public will have more interest in. But it looks like Thurman and Porter's finally going to go down June 25th with no further restrictions, no further delays, no more bullshit that will prevent the fight from happening. I'm not going to give a prediction just yet, but of course I'm leaning towards Thurman. I believe he's gonna put on a great performance. But it's been a long time since he's been in the ring. It's been a frustrating period the past year. Not being active, not getting this fight done sooner rather than later. But it's here now. No more talk. Just waiting for the fight to happen. Both guys seem to be in great shape. Porter is always in great shape. The guy is always in the gym, pretty much year round. He always does some unique training, like doing pads with a blindfold. He seemed like he has some high altitude chamber in his gym where he hits a heavy bag and does pad work. So there should be no excuses on both guys' ends. Both guys seem to be in great shape, and they should put in a good performance, win or lose, for both guys on June 25th. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.